You are now entering the horror sanctum.
Hello, and welcome back to the Horror Sanctum podcast. I'm Jay with Kellen and TJ, and we are beyond honored to be joined today by actor Shawn Ashmore. Shawn, welcome to the Sanctum.
Thank you for having me.
You've been in a ton of films and television series. I try to just get the choice nugs, but you've been in The Boys, you're in The Rookie, The Following, Frozen, not that one, The Ruins, you were Iceman in the X-Men franchise, and of course, one of my faves, Animorphs. But most
Yes.
recently, you starred opposite Ashley Greene for the second time, I believe. The other movie being Aftermath. And It Feeds, not It Follows, which I've been saying a lot today. It Feeds, which comes out Friday, the 18th, from Black Fawn Films, directed by Chad Archibald. So we're going to start there. It was a great film. It was well shot, well directed, well acted across the board. It centers around a clairvoyant therapist who confronts her own personal demons while trying to save a young girl who believes a malicious entity is feeding on her. So just tell us about how you got involved with this project and what was it like playing the type of character you portrayed in the film?
Um, Basically, this came to me like many other projects have. I just got an email from my agent saying, "Hey, there's this potential offer coming through," um, and I and usually the email comes through. It's like the log line of the script, writer, director, producers, stars attached, actors attached, and I saw Ashley's name, and I was like, "Oh, great! Like we've made a film." I thoroughly enjoyed my experience working with Ashley on Aftermath, and I thought that movie turned out really well. In that movie, we played a married couple that were kind of dealing with this potentially otherworldly spirit entity, whatever. Um, and so it was a very different kind of relationship the characters had in this film, and that's why I thought it'd be fun. I was like, I love Ashley's work. I love working with her. But this is a completely different relationship. So I thought it was more adversarial, which I thought would be kind of fun to try. Um, and then I read the script and I loved it. I'm a huge genre fan and obviously have been in a lot of genre stuff. So I feel like I've got a pretty good eye for when things will work. And I just love this concept. I felt like it was familiar enough that would be satisfying to genre fans, but it had a different twist. And the biggest thing for me when I read specifically genre stuff are the characters making dumb decisions? Because that drives me crazy. If I can read a script and I'm like, that is a dumb decision, and I want to sort of clarify that to me, there's a big difference between characters making bad decisions and characters making dumb decisions. And I think there are a bunch of bad decisions that, for example, my character Randall makes, but it's because he's been put into this horrible situation. He has to like make decisions that are not exactly moral and not exactly ideal. But I didn't feel like he was making dumb decisions. And so when I can look at a script and read that and say, as I look at myself as an audience member, the only time that I really get to experience a story for the first time, like a viewer would, is when I read the script for the first time. And so that's when I'm really critiquing, like, well, what's the story about? Why are the characters doing these things? And I just really loved the the general, premise of the film, and also I enjoyed the characters. I thought, like, okay, this is the kind of movie that I would want to see. This is the movie I would go see this kind of film. So yeah, that was it. And then I just talked to Chad, who's the writer as well as director, and I just liked what he had to say. I liked where the script came from. It's very very personal for him, and I could relate to a lot of the stuff that a lot of the places where this story came from him, and it made sense. And so I was like, let's make a movie, and we did.
Yeah, so this is probably the darkest role I've seen you in, and kind of like I imagine for an actor, I haven't done acting on the level that obviously you have, but I imagine for an actor something this juicy, getting to play that gray area of doing evil things, but for your character's own personal, seemingly in their mind, good reasons. Um, it just seems like that would be a very juicy thing to want to get involved in. Is there like when you're picking a role like this, is that a consideration of like playing in that moral ambiguity or
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. Again, I think, and I've heard people say this, and I agree with it. Like, I think the villains don't think that they're bad, right?
right?
They're some over the top villains are clearly like written for that, but I think every good villain, and that's why I feel like every good superhero film is as good as the villain that they're going up against. And if the villain is just the bad guy to be defeated, then it's not very interesting. If the villain or the person, is believes in what they're doing, then it's like a much more complex battle. And then it is like a morality tale. And it's like, well, are are our good guys really doing the right thing? Are the bad guys doing the right thing? I know that's why I like The Boys too. I think flipping the superhero genre by subverting it, and being like, well, if the superheroes are really this powerful and they're human, they would be horrible people. The power would corrupt them. So yes, and that's the other reason I really wanted to be a part of The Boys and play a character like Lamplighter, because I'm on a television show right now called The Rookie, and my character is very moral and very, he's a good guy. So on the hiatuses, it's fun to be like, what else can I go do? What kind of path can I go down with another character with like you said, some moral ambiguity, and it is juicy and it is fun. And Randall, the character I play in this, we sort of meet him on screen at like a level 10. There's no backstory for Randall. He just kind of comes flying into the film, and then he is like full bore the whole time. And I was having a hard time trying to figure out in pre-production, like how, like just out of the gate, how to have Randall way up here. And Chad was like, well, think about it like this. Randall could have his own movie. The prequel to It Feeds would be what happens to Randall and his wife and then to his daughter. So we're meeting Randall in the fourth act of his movie, which is the first act of this movie. And just to sort of really help create that backstory and just have that, like really play out that film. And so when we meet Randall, it's not like, well, I'm just jumping right into it. It's like, no, he's lived in, he's the trauma that he's gone through, the choices he's had to make are all weighing on him. And so when we meet him in the movie, yeah, he's at a level 10, but for me preparing, it's like, well, I got to ramp up because I really had thought out about like what that process would be for him to get to that point.
Yeah, I guess part of the process was some of what I was curious about. Do you like I know there's different acting schools with the Meisner method, different things like that. Do you have any kind of ritual or any kind of process to inform going into a role like this that you know is going to require a lot emotionally out of you?
Yeah, I mean, I never studied. I sort of learned on the job, and I learned from great directors I work with. I learned from actors, and I learned just from experience. And I think at the end of the day, actors, go to school and study a technique, but ultimately, most actors I've talked to are like, I've taken bits from that, I've taken bits from that, and I've made my own technique, like what works for me. I think just to be like, oh, I'm in this box and I can only work if I'm making the choices that this, technique tells me. I don't necessarily think that that's completely how it works. But yeah, there's a lot of things I do. I mean, obviously it has to be on the page. It has to, the character has to be grounded. You have to understand, I have to understand the character's choices. And if I feel like the character's making dumb choices, it's hard for me to ground myself in what they're doing. Again, bad choices are totally different than dumb choices. And so a bad choice I can accept. A dumb choice is hard for me to get past. But that is all about the writing to me. And you also hear, a lot of people say, you don't judge your character. But again, I just find it difficult to ground myself and make it believable if I think the choice is just to push the story along or just to create conflict in the story. It's like that. Why would they do that? And then, yeah, I like to create a backstory for the character and really understand who they are as much as possible. I also like, I did it a little bit for this film, but I tend to like create a soundtrack for a character, like mood music. You know what I mean? Like just things as I'm preparing, as I'm reading the script, as I'm, getting dressed for the scene, like just to have music is a big influence on my life. So I tend to, not always, but a lot of times put together a bit of a soundtrack for a character. And I think that just gets me in a mental place, a mental state to kind of like, again, it just to help you get into that zone sometimes, especially when it's like emotional, heightened, any little trick or any little thing that you can use to help get you there a little bit easier is always nice. And sometimes, again, the big fear is like, well, I have this huge emotional scene, and like, well, what if I can't achieve the amount of emotion that I need? So again, there are little tricks and techniques that you can use and that I use. But also, like, I have a child, I have a son, and so picturing what Randall is going through, it's pretty easy to get emotional or to connect to what he's going through. You know what I mean?
Right.
Easier than if before I had a child. You know what I mean? It's not impossible to do that, but things like that. And it's hard though. Like you're kind of imagining or putting yourself through these mental gymnastics where you're kind of creating this painful thought or memory, and you have to live in that for a couple of weeks. And the trick is kind of being able to back out of that when you're done.
Was there a specific song or artist you listened to get in the mindset for this film?
Yeah. So Chad, he said this in public because I feel like it's a very personal thing for him. But I asked about the script, and it's like it feels very personal. And he lost both of his parents to cancer during COVID, and so from what I understand and what he talked to me about, it's like It Feeds is the genre version of this thing eating away at your loved ones. And my dad died of lung cancer during COVID as well. So we connected on that, just that shared experience and that pain. And then there's a movie called The Fountain, Darren
With Hugh
Aronofsky,
Jackman.
and which is I love that film, but also that film is about Hugh Jackman's character losing his wife to cancer and his like desperate struggle. And so that the score for that by Clint Mansell is very powerful. But I just put that link together between the cancer thing and the loss of a loved one. And so that was, some of that score, I think was I was listening to that a lot and remembering how I felt watching that film. And Hugh and Rachel Weisz were so incredible in that movie. So yeah, again, you also borrow a lot from performances and from films and stuff that you like, and make you feel things. So that was an example of that. Like, so I think the Fountain score was something I was listening to a lot, and I think I just made that connection to it because of the sort of cancer thing that Chad had talked about and my dad passing away. So I think I linked those together, and that kind of was part of the character work that I was putting together.
What are some of your favorite things, because you've done a good bit of it? What are some of your favorite things about working in specifically indie horror?
I like bold storytelling. And I like heightened performances. And I think you're allowed to go big and experience big things, whether it's fear, whether it's terror, whether it's violence, whether it's all these things. So I think indie genre films in general, that's kind of their bread and butter. And I like that. I like that as a performer. I like being like, can I do this? Can I make this believable? Can I go big? Can I play evil? There's a movie I did called The Free Fall. It's available on Hulu that I'm so proud of, but like that is a bad character. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this, but I've never been like so driven to try to play a part. I've never sold myself harder to get a part. But it's because it was like, this is a crazy story and a crazy character. And can I do this? Like, that's fun too. And also, filmmakers are willing to take a risk sometimes. Like in big studio movies, it's like, well, we need to have seen you play this part for us to know that you can do it and it's going to work. Whereas independent filmmakers are more like, hey, you're just the right actor. I don't care that I've never seen you do this. I know you can. And so they can take a risk. And so I'm allowed to play different roles in an independent film versus like a big studio film or on network television or whatever. So, I've also gotten a chance to break out of sort of the Bobby Drake X-Men box that I was in for a long time.
Right.
And just, go play a bad guy. or go play just a kind of character that maybe people didn't see me as for a long time. And then it broadens your career out, and then all of a sudden they've seen you play that. Now you can play that.
Right. I'm just curious, as a big fan of all of Adam Green's work, how did you
Mm.
initially get hooked up with him?
So that was that so the film we did together was called Frozen. I'm very, very proud of that, for many
And you,
reasons.
and you also have a little bit role in Hatchet too.
Yes, yeah. My face gets sliced off in Hatchet too. That was after Frozen. That's when we'd already I already knew Adam, and he's like, "Hey, you want to come in and get killed?" I was like, "Yeah, that'd be fun." So my friend Kevin Zegers, who ended up in the film, we're both from Canada. I was in Toronto for Christmas, and I brought the Frozen script with me. I had an audition for it in the new year. So it was like, hey, bring the script, take a look at it, prepare it. If you're interested, you can audition for it in the new year. And while I was up in Toronto, Kevin called me and he was like, hey, I booked this role in this movie. And there's another role. You'd be great for it. You should read for it. And I was like, I'm holding the script. And he's like, awesome. Like, I hope you like it. And I did. I read it. I loved it. I thought it was going to be a real challenge, because I was like, once we're stuck on the chairlift is basically a play, and I was like, can we make that interesting? On the page, it's very interesting, but it almost read like a book, and so on the page, it's one thing, but like, is an audience going to want to sit for 60 minutes? Like, once we get up there with just 3 people and then 2 people and then 1 person on the ski lift. But there was something about the characters and the script and the dialogue that I was like, this is great. So I went in and auditioned for it and booked it. And Adam Green in the room was like, hey, just so you know, we're not shooting this on a green screen. We're not going to be on a stage. We're going to be on the side of a mountain. So if that doesn't sound like something you want to do, maybe you shouldn't be up for this. I was like, dude, I'm Canadian. Like, I was born in the snow. Like, I'm good. I can handle this. And we did. We shot on the side of a mountain in a real chairlift for 6 weeks. It was probably one of the hardest filming experiences I've ever had, but a lot of that helped with your performance, because you don't have to act cold. You don't have, you're miserable up there. I mean, you're sitting for 6 hours on a chairlift, like, you can't feel your legs. You're cold. The whole poor crew was on the side of a mountain in waist deep snow for 6 hours at a time until lunch, and then for 6 hours afterwards. So it
that's real snow.
Everything. So the thing that happened was, so we were up on a chairlift, and they had a scissor lift that was supposed to be able to get us up and down when we needed to take breaks or use the bathroom or whatever. But we'd gotten a blizzard had hit the mountain in Utah right before we started shooting. And the safety team was like, because there was so much snow and it was unstable, they're like, we don't feel safe putting the scissor lift next to the thing because it could slide or tilt when the actors are on it. So basically, a couple days before we started shooting, they're like, remember how we said you guys were going to be able to come up and down? You're not. So basically, we don't want you eating or drinking because you can't get off to use the bathroom. And at lunchtime, it was an old lift, and we were on a huge mountain in Utah. And instead of running the chairlift backwards to get down in maybe 10 minutes, it was an old lift that could only run forward. So we'd have to sit on the lift for about 25 minutes and go all the way around before we could get off. So, so we were on the side of a mountain after a huge blizzard, and we shot the whole movie in a legit chairlift. There was a forced perspective set for when I was doing some of the climbing, which was awesome. And I actually have like the miniature chairlift, like that would be what was closest in camera. Like they built like a full forced perspective set that was really cool. And Adam gave me the mini chairlift. I have it in my office.
So basically, you lived the movie Frozen, sans possibly being murdered by wolves.
Sans wolves. But it was amazing. And the other cool thing is I met my wife on the film. She was an AD, an assistant director, and so I have such great memories about that. And then the movie premiered at Sundance. We shot it in Utah, and what better way to scare the shit out of everybody than playing that movie in Sundance, where everyone's going up to get on a ski lift the next day. And I was like, yes, like this is perfect. So it was cool. It was really good. We were like definitely the talk of the town after we premiered, because everybody was like, did you see that movie? And now we're going to get on a ski lift. Like, are we crazy? Right. It was fun.
Yeah. I love Frozen. That was kind of going to be my question. Nice. Was what it was like shooting that, which TJ took that for me. So I'm going to pivot just slightly. you were also in The Ruins, which is another film I liked a lot. Polar Opposites, right?
Yeah.
If you had to do another film, would you rather do one frozen on a ski lift or be cold all the time, or would you rather be like on top of a temple in Mexico under the beating sun?
On top of a temple in Mexico, 100%. The crazy thing is, it actually what we shot The Ruins in Australia, and so that was like a built set in the middle of in the forest in Australia. So although it looked hot because the sun was beating down, it wasn't actually that hot there. It was a lot of like spray sweat and glycerin to make us look like we're sweating. There were obviously days it was really, really warm, but it wasn't as hot as you would expect it to be. But that was another incredible film. Like, I was a huge fan of the Scott Smith. Is it Scott Smith? The author. Blanking on his name, but
the author of The Ruins.
Yeah,
I believe it's Scott Smith.
Yeah, me too. I loved the book, and I thought it was such a unique and fun and cool read. So when this movie came along, I was like, yeah, like I'd love to do this. And the cast was amazing. Jenna Malone and Jonathan and Laura and Joe Anderson. Like it was a really, really, really cool cast and a very exciting kind of movie to make. Carter Smith, the director, had made a short film called Bug Crush that I'd seen that I loved. So I knew that we were kind of in good hands. Carter was also an incredible fashion photographer. So he had like a really great eye. Like the way that he shot things, I thought was really, really cool. And then the kind of cherry on top was Darius Kanji was our cinematographer, and he shot films like Seven and was an Academy Award winner. And I asked him one time, I was like, what made you want to shoot this film? And he's like, I wanted to make a horror movie in broad daylight. And I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. And the cool thing about that being a studio film is we had much more time. So we went over to Australia like 3 weeks early, and Carter had on the stages where we were kind of rehearsing, because the majority of the movie was up on the temple, they had taped out the top of the pyramid, the top of the temple, including the well and where all the tents would be. And we literally just walked through the entire movie chronologically and was like, okay, well, Stacy and Eric, my character and my girlfriend, are supposed to be having this conversation in a tent, but realistically it's only 20 feet away from where they are. So like, let's make sure that we're paying attention to our volume and our levels and like, how conspicuous we need to be. And so it was kind of cool to like get to block the whole film before we went up and shot it. And we didn't shoot the film completely chronologically, but we shot it as much as we could. So as we started getting disheveled and beaten down and, this weed plant was kind of taking over and our clothes would be like demolished and broken down, we kind of like took that trajectory almost in order, which is very rare when you're shooting a film. But because we were almost in that location the whole time, we could do that.
Well, it's time to go in a different direction. So as was previously mentioned, I do something a little different. I don't have the repertoire that the fellow hosts have as far as movies go, but I like to have a little fun. So we're going to do what's called Killen's Fast Five.
Okay.
So I don't have a graphic yet, so that's the best I can do.
Nice.
5 questions. First answer to pop into your head. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Question number 1. As Jay previously stated, you starred in the Nickelodeon series Animorphs. If you could actually morph into an animal, what would it be?
A bird.
No hesitation. Just straight
nope.
to bird.
I want to fly.
Fastest Fast Five answer we've had so far.
Yeah.
Bravo.
100%. All right. Well, question number 2. You were the main character in a video game, Quantum Break, one of my favorite games of all time. Which is harder, acting for a video game or acting in a movie or TV series?
Different, not harder.
Just the motion capture and...
Yeah. So, that was a whole new process, motion capture, because nothing is there, right? You're in a volume. It's more like theater because it's just a bunch of actors together and you're imagining the space, the environment, the lighting. But then once you get used to it, it's really freeing because you don't have to wait for the camera to reset. You don't have to wait for all the special effects. Like you just keep acting. So you get to do a lot more performing because you're not waiting for all the details. They add all that afterwards. So just different.
Very nice. And the game looked beautiful.
Thank you.
Question 3, is there a character from the early part of your career that you wish you'd have gotten more time to play?
Well, Lamplighter is the character. That's not earlier in my career, but that's the character I wish I'd have gotten more time with. Lamplighter was the arc was already established when I booked it. I knew that he was going to die a couple episodes in, but I loved that character, and I thought he could have spent more time with the boys. I thought that was like a cool journey. So yeah, I wish I had more time with Lamplighter.
All right. Question number 4, and this one was kind of answered a little bit earlier, but I want to just get a little more raw answer. In It Feeds, you play a father struggling to help his daughter. Did being a father in real life prepare you to play a father in this film?
Yes, 100%. And again, for all the reasons that I sort of talked about before, just it's hard to imagine what you would do for your child before having a family. Like again, you have an idea, you have people that you love, you have people that you care for. But yeah, I think that for me, there was another level of care and responsibility when I had my son.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense as the daughter of or father of 2 daughters myself. So I absolutely get that. It's a different world once you have kids.
Yeah.
All right, last question. Are you ready?
Yes.
This is to piggyback off something that you mentioned earlier. I am a huge audiophile. I love music. I've got about 400 vinyls to my right now.
Oh, nice.
But if you were to make a soundtrack for your life, what would be the first song you'd add?
Oh my gosh.
Got him.
Yeah, completely stumped.
You were doing too well.
Yeah, thank you for putting me in my place. Wow. Oh, man. So this is a song that I don't know necessarily how this ties specifically into my life, but it was a very, very, very big song. It influenced me as a child. It was "Stand By Me," Benny King, because I actually really wanted to be. I think the first time I really understood and thought, "Wow, you could be an actor," is when I watched "Stand By Me" for the first time, and I saw kids that were my age that were not doing Disney stuff, that were not, it's a family friendly movie, I guess, but it's like, it's like these kids are living a hard life and they're walking along the train tracks to go see a dead body. And, the Will Wheaton's character's brother has died and Corey Feldman's being abused. And like River Phoenix is from this really tough family. And I thought, like, here are these kids that are my age that are playing real characters that have real lives, that isn't like a Disney story or a kid's story. So that was like one of my favorite movies as a kid. And obviously that song is a huge part of that film. And so I think I really love that song and I really love that film. And that started me on the journey, I think, to where I am now. Like I can trace it all the way back to when I was like 8 or 9 or whatever and watched that film for the first time.
That's a great answer. All right. I'd also wish we had more Lamplighter. Also, we'll close up shop. One more quick question, and
Sure.
Answer is probably no because I haven't seen anything otherwise. Has there been any talks of Iceman coming back at all? With everybody coming out? No. Would you want him to?
Well, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Listen, the honest answer is even if I was, I couldn't say yes,
right,
or I'd have to.
Yeah.
But honestly, no, there haven't been any talks, and I'm always open to that. Like that character changed my life, changed the trajectory of my career, gave me so many opportunities. I grew up reading X-Men comics and watching the cartoon after school. So like, I'm a fan. So if they ever want me to come back, I 100% would. But I watched that 5-minute, revealing of chairs, just hoping my name was going to be there. But I'm excited. I truly am, because I'm a fan of specifically the X-Men over the years, but also the MCU. And so to have these two kind of worlds finally collide, I'm excited as a fan. And again, obviously, I'd love to be a part of those movies, and I hope that it happens. But there is something to be said about, I don't think I ever fully enjoyed the X-Men films like I would have as just a fan, because I'm in them. So part of me is like, yeah, I'd love to come back and play that character again. The other part of me is like, it's would nice just to enjoy it as a fan, just to see these worlds collide and just be like, I have no idea what the story is. I wasn't involved. So if I had to flip a coin, I'd be in it. But if I'm not in it, it'll be nice to watch it as a fan.
Yeah, it's nice to enjoy it still. So
yeah.
All right. That's it for this episode. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to wherever you listen to this podcast. Follow us on Instagram. Join our Facebook group. Follow us on TikTok. We have a Amazon Music playlist. Go check that out. It features music and artists from all our previous episodes. And go check out It Feeds, available Friday the 18th. Everywhere, I think in UK, it's coming out a little bit later. But Shawn, thank you again for taking some time with us. It was a blast. Floor is yours. If you have anything else you want to put out there, tell people where they can find you, your work, or whatever else you want to share.
Yeah, well, the only thing I can say is I'm doing a show called The Rookie right now on ABC, which airs Tuesdays at 9. So if you're into that kind of thing, check out The Rookie. And also give me a follow at Shawn R. Ashmore. Maybe if some X-Men stuff comes up, you'll see it there first.
Yeah, we'll tag the Russo brothers when this episode drops too, just to make
Yeah,
sure we get their attention. Right?
Thank you. Yeah, totally.
All right, signing off. I'm Jay with Kellen, TJ, and Shawn Ashmore. And until next time,
Keep it spooky.